Well, good evening. I'm Rick Dancer. It is Friday night, and I've got a new idea for a show that I wanted to run by you guys. Because after all, I trust you. You are my audience, and you will know what will work and what will not work. So, my idea is I heard this on the radio, a term I'd never heard before. And, ooh, who's got the angry face? Ooh, Sheila, you have an angry face up there. What is that all about? Oh, I didn't know you could do that. You can plug on there. You can see kind of what's going on. Well, that's kind of cool. Um, so social intercourse, you bring your own protection. I heard a guy on the radio talking about having social intercourse. And I thought, I remember it's not me. Oh, is that what that's? No, that's not what it means. I see what I got here. Oh, that is so funny. But don't you think that's a great name for a show? I think it would be so fun, and I'm gonna do it. If somebody steals it, I will find you. Hello, Christine. How are you? We still don't have any word on the missing people that we've been showing stories on, but it is a Friday night, and I thought I would come on and just chat with you a little bit before I head out of here to our Friday. So it's going to be really super hot this weekend. Really hot, like 100 degrees tomorrow. I guess it's going to be just a cool down to 98 on Sunday now. Should be a really good day to visit a place like Florence, Oregon, or Yachats. I don't know how people over there are feeling about people traveling, but I know lots of people who are going to the beach this weekend because it's supposed to be like in the 80s or something. It's man. Jason, that is the ugliest picture you have, and I know that's not you. How screwed are you? Bill, I was thinking of a tagline like social intercourse and then having it be, you bring the protection or you're going to get screwed. But I thought I'd leave the screwed out, but I knew somebody would come up with that for me. Traffic is going to be heavy. Yep. It will be. Hi, Robert, you're in Troutdale. Well, there you go. It's a long way away. Anne's overseas, like way over there, way over on the other side of the ocean. Does you write that again? I don't know why that comes up again. We're going to Florence tomorrow and coming home on Sunday. My son lives there. Yeah, I have a feeling the coast is going to be pretty busy this week. Kathy and I leave. The house sitter's coming. We leave for Montana a week from today on Friday, and we're going to be in Montana, Idaho, and Baker County, Oregon for 2.5 weeks. We'll be doing PNW backstories. So we'll be coming live to you guys from all these different places and shooting stories while we're there. And we'll have a contest that you can win when you go. 84 on the Oregon coast tomorrow. Jeez. My wife and I may just have to drive over there. The PC bandits may get their panties in a knot over that line. Yeah, I know, Oliver. Isn't that sad? Social intercourse. Well, that's what it is. So who are you screwing with now? Oh, I have. Hey, Chris, how are you? I'm always in trouble. I guess my name is, I am not to be trusted on certain websites. There's some of the rioters are putting my name on their websites and saying, do not trust Rick Dancer. So, oh, well, it's interesting how when you come out and start talking about things that you believe, how people can turn on you. We're in Montana this time. Well, we're going to be going to Livingston where my kid lives. And then we'll be all around that area. So we'll do hiking and biking and all that. So we're going to make a trip of it. So we're going to go through Idaho up to Lewiston. Then we're going to go over to Livingston. So we'll go up to Missoula, spend a night, then come down to Livingston, spend a week. Then we're going to come back down through Idaho, and up in the Sawtooth Mountains? I think that's what it's called. And then up to, I think, McCall, Idaho, and then back over to Baker. But we're going to take like 5 days in Idaho because we've never really been there a lot. So if you have some great places, in Idaho, we'd love to know. We're RV camping in Pacific City. So excited. I have a home there right on the beach, 3 doors down from the front. So Katrina, if you go out from your RV camping area and down in where the Pelican Pub is and then count 3 doors And that home, the third house down, is my family home. I had it a week. Actually, I actually had it the week of the 24th, but we gave it back to my sister to rent. We're going to take a week in October because we want to go to Montana. Are you still smelling all fresh and clean from your quick shower at the car wash? Coburg Wash Car Wash gave me a quick shower today, and in my Speedo. There's a cool ghost town just before Seeley Lake in Montana. It's so cool. Okay, I will look that up. You're definitely popular on Reddit. Oh, am I on Reddit? I saw one article on there. Who the hell is Rick Dancer? And then they all started trashing me. I trust Rick Dancer far more than damn protesters. I got no problem with protesters, Samantha, and I'm not correcting you at all. I just don't want them to be able to use something against me. I have a huge problem with rioters. I have no problem with protesters. I have no problem with people fighting for rights for all people, and especially Black Americans. In fact, I support that completely. But I think we should, but I don't know enough about Black Lives Matters to say I'm going to support everything they believe because I don't know enough about them. My problem is I have trust issues. I don't trust organizations. I don't trust Republicans. I don't trust Democrats. Not the people, but the parties. I don't trust government. I don't trust big business, big corporations. Love Montana. Billings is a great place too. My son's been there quite a bit. So check out Craters of the Moon. We heard that was on our list, but I think we're going more north of that. So we're going to have to go back. Avoid Caldwell, Idaho, literally the butthole of the state. Lived there for 3.5 years. Okay. I don't need to go to another butthole. I spent enough time in one. Lived in Idaho for 8 years in the 80s. Enjoy your time away. I plan to. It's nice. We get the house sitter. We get the Toyota is our sponsor. So Toyota and your Northwest Toyota dealers are sponsoring us. Also, Seneca, a family of companies, is another sponsor for us. So Toyota provides us the rig, and then we get to take that over. Lithius in Springfield lets us take one of their rigs, and then so we don't have to drive our own, and we go over and get to experience a different car, and got lots of stuff planned in Baker County. Gosh, I should have put this on my Exploregon page. Too late to do that now. I'll do that next week, but we're going to be staying in an RV up at Anthony Lakes with paddleboards and kayaks and stuff like that. I know, Steve, you have my hat. I got in the truck, went through the car wash. I got right up to the front, and Renee goes, "Rick, I think your hat's still in the back of Steve's truck." And I went, "Oh no!" So we'll figure that out. We'll get it straightened out, and I'll get my hat back. It's pretty dirty, so I wouldn't touch it too much. The ghost town is Garnet Ghost Town. Oh, okay. I'll write that down. Garnet Ghost Town. I love ghost towns. Okay. I'll probably be moving to Idaho, get away from all the nut jobs in Oregon. It's about police brutality and the need to stop police from killing unarmed, non-threatened people, all races, not just one. Cindy, I understand that's that's what they're saying and stuff. I just, we might just be, I don't think police should be killing unarmed people either, but I think you got to look at all the statistics, and I don't want to get into a big discussion about it because it just gets people, what happened to George Floyd and other people like that is horrible. But if you look at all the things that happen at all the police here, like in Eugene and Springfield and stuff, that's not happening here. And I don't think it's fair to lump all police officers into a statement like that. Not that you are, but this has turned into just anger and screaming and yelling. And how does it make that better when you're ripping up some person's business? And you're only ripping up white people's businesses. You're trying to avoid people of color. So how am I supposed to join in with that and agree with that when the destruction of someone's business is going to make it better so that police, in your comment, will stop threatening people? How does that make it better? So you threaten my business, and that's the same kind of thing. Okay, have a great time. I will. There's a lot of stories out there, Cindy. It would be a great. I would love to have some people who could talk, like maybe yourself too, on a show live with me, to talk about that. I would love to be able to have a real conversation where it's not just me talking, not focusing on damage, focus on reform. But that when they've done $20 million worth of damage in downtown Portland, who's going to pay for that? Me, you. Violence begets violence, period. I agree. If you act violently, and who's going to, I think we're losing the message. It is, oh, here, it's a double-edged sword. Exactly. It's a very, I'm friends with 4 EPD officers, and they wish people would stop all the nonsense in Eugene. I've known them for 20 years. I know a lot of cops. I used to cover cops in courts as my beat. And, oh, Cindy's back here. Good. Actually, we are all people of color. Some of us are less brown than others. But yes, change doesn't happen from violence. I agree, Cindy. Or Cinda. I'm sorry, Cinda. Because I said this the other day, and this made some people angry too. But I mean, actually, if you look on the color scale, white is a color. And so, you know, and people, you know, I have friends in the Black community, and they even say that people in that community also treat people better who are lighter than darker. I don't, so there's a whole bunch of problems here. But defunding the police, I don't agree with at all. Do we need to find better ways of taking care of those on the streets who are mentally ill and those who are in situations like that? Yeah, I think we need a lot more cahoots going on, mental health specialists dealing with those things, and reserve the cops for taking care of real crime. To me, why do we criminalize folks to justify killing unarmed people? I don't know that we do, Cindy, that you and I might not agree on that. But I'm listening. But see, I would rather have you like in a place where you're talking to me than just us throwing out comments like this, because I'd love to do that. What Cindy said. Hi, Laura. How are you? Cannon hit it. I know these are other people. How do you define defunding the police? I think we should find new ways to come up with programs like cahoots. I think you have to have cops. I mean, you know, who's going to respond to criminal activity? What you need is when we have mental health issues, which is the biggest thing that takes up the largest amount of time for police officers. What I end up doing half the time when I have a problem, and I've done this several times, I call cahoots. I call 911, and they get a hold of cahoots, and then cahoots goes out and takes care of that issue. And I think that is a huge, and they're talking, I think even Senator Ron Wyden is talking about making that a program that Medicare would be funded by Medicare or something. I can't remember exactly, but doing a cahoots type program all over the country. I think that'd be huge. Defund Congress, don't defund police. Then more resources for all. Defund Congress. That's not going to happen. They fund their own thing. I've seen tons of people in Eugene that are homeless talking to themselves, mental health folks. Right. And what do we expect as a state when we shut down mental health services? And even our current governor was talking about shutting down Junction City's mental health institution out there. What do you do with these people? You put them out on the streets, and then you wonder why we have so many problems. I know that's not the racial issue. Maybe train the cops in mental health. That's, yeah, but I think we like what they're talking about. If instead of defunding the police, restructure how this works. So police do police work, and we take some of that money and put it into mental health services. I think we should just get more money to put into mental health services and quit fucking around with some of this other stuff we pay for. But because that's obviously a huge issue, and we should be putting that into mental health services, so more cahoots, and keep the police out there taking care of criminal activity. Because I don't want some group of people coming to my house who's untrained. You have to have, I think you have to have police officers. That's just my thought. So I think we can say, we aren't saying no police, just put some resources in community resolution. I agree, Laura, 100%. But all I hear being screamed about is defund the police, fuck the police are, and I don't agree with that at all. When you're screaming about what police are doing, why don't you scream instead of against? What if we screamed for? Let's get more mental health services. Let's get more people working on the streets. That would be more effective to me than, all this fuck the police thing. Defunding is the wrong term. Reform. Also saying white as a color too is so wrong. White people have way less to worry about in regards to police. Jason, I'm not saying it in terms of what goes on with police. I'm saying literally white is a color. And if you're going to go out and beat down people's businesses, I don't think you should be destroying anybody's businesses. And I saw a notice that said only do not hurt, injure POC's businesses. Well, that should be all of us. Leave people's businesses alone. Go out and protest peacefully. Make your point, and let's get some change going. But to go in and just haphazardly damage people's property, any colored person's property, that I think that's wrong. I don't support vandalism at all, because I think it's just wimpy. It's very wimpy. I talk to myself too. Never judge till you're perfect. Vote Democrat. I never vote party line. I never vote party line. I can't. No, I can't stand any party, even the independent party. I was in that and I got out of it. Why is the first thing folks say when defunding the murder of an unarmed, fully restrained, handcuffed father, he was a criminal? Like, kill him because he was a bad guy that does not deserve a fair trial like Kim Kinkle got. I don't agree either. That's fine. I'm glad that you don't. We don't have to agree. I like the fact that you don't agree with me. It absolutely does make it better. This narrative that destroying businesses will get your message across is ridiculous. Glass window stores. See, that's kind of where I'm coming from. Is it's and why? How did we get to a point where that if I don't support this, then I am anti that? That's just bullshit. And that's what I hate about that's the narrative that's been created, and I'm not going to live under it because it's bullshit. And I can support equality, but it doesn't mean I have to buy everything that people are saying about other things. There may be other information out there that discounts what you're saying, and I'm looking at it and you're not. But I'm not going to sit here and do a little fight over all of it. It's just not going to happen. Vandalism is criminal. That should not be tolerated. I see. We agree on that, Laura, for sure. I think I heard some of the rioters say, not protesters. I heard some of the rioters saying, "Well, they have insurance; it'll cover it." So that gives you that's okay bad behavior because you think that insurance company is going to cover it. So I mean, that's just terrible. Will you vote for Isaiah Wagner? What's he running for? I like Isaiah. He's a nice guy. He came in here. We did a show. But what is he running for? Most people destroying properties seem to be younger. Yeah, they don't. I don't know. I hesitate to say, but if I was just going to be really honest, it doesn't seem like it's. It doesn't seem to me from the video that I've seen that it's the Black Lives Matter or the Black Unity people doing the destruction. In fact, Isaiah was trying to stop that. But I did see a poster put out by one of the organizations that said, don't, and I was really heartbroken because it said, don't, make sure you don't, something to the effect that don't, make sure you don't damage people of color, business owners' property. And so what that said to me, and maybe that's not what they meant, but what that says to me, then it's okay to do it if they're white. And that, isn't that racist? If you're targeting a certain race's property to damage and not another one. It's really sad about all the damage, but what about all the dead folks at the hands of folks we pay to protect and serve? I'm not anti-police. See, Cindy, we found something we agree on. I would look at your numbers and I would disagree with your numbers, all the people. One person is a bad thing, but you can look at so many people and things out there. I just think we need to take this and get what's the focus going to be? If we're going to reform police, then let's start talking about reforming, not fuck police. I think we have to get back into a conversation where we're talking. Oh, he's running for Eugene mayor? Like, coming up? Dave, are you serious? Like, when is that up? When is the position up? Or when is Lucy's position up? Oh, agreed on the vandalism being bullshit. Yeah, Jason, you better be clear, or you're getting wrapped up into something you weren't wanted to. He's running for mayor versus Lucy. Oh, really? I had not heard that. I am so out of touch. When is that? Is that November? No. Is that November? No, that would be in 2 years. I think she gets a 4-year term, doesn't she? I'm pretty sure. Not tagging anyone. Cannon Hilton was a little 5-year-old boy shot in the head by a black man in North Carolina. If you start looking into it, there's a lot of stuff going on here. Defund the police is not the same as unfund the police. Reallocation of resources would be the more along the lines of defunding the police, but the priorities to do so must be set first. I think what must be set first, Robin, is we need to get to a point where we're actually having a conversation rather than ripping apart our community. I had a guy on the show the other day. It was oh God, he's a U.S. citizen now, but he immigrated to the United States, and he was a Eugene police officer for years. He's a wonderful guy, cool guy. And he said, you know what, Rick, I think what people are forgetting is we are the United States. So it's time we let people, each of us have a break and think differently, but we need to unite under something. And right now we're not united. We're just screaming and yelling. And what also is happening is a lot of people like my color are being quiet. And that's dangerous because you're not changing their minds. You're making them more solid in their position. And when we get really super solid in our position, I think we stop listening. So we've got people screaming and yelling and destroying people's property. And then you've got another group of the population that are just quieting down and going, you know what? I'm not doing this. And they're quieting down. And so nothing's getting changed and no conversation is. And so people just yell louder, people get more quiet. And then what happens is nothing happens. And that's what bothers me about it. Had to look this up. Prior to protests, business insurance would cover riots. Currently, they are not now requiring additional riot insurance to cover destruction. True, Bill. But my point is, if I know somebody, if you're still destroying property knowing, oh, well, somebody's going to cover it for you, that's still chicken shit, I think. It's anti-progressive. See, I think so too, Tony. I think progressive means we move forward. And this is regressive. This is like we are regressing into behavior that on both sides, where we're silencing one group of people, another group of people, and it's not just black people. This is a group. Here's one side of this issue, and we're just getting farther and farther apart. And it's not going to change. And everybody thinks, what if you scream louder? People, what do you do when people scream louder at you, or force things at you, or throw things at you? Do you listen more, or do you say, fuck you, I'm not listening anymore? I'm the latter. Assuming they meant white businesses being damaged might be racist, but who knows why you thought that? Why I thought that is because it said, don't damage POC businesses. And first I didn't think about it. And then I went back and I thought, well, that's people of color. So if you're saying not to damage people of color's businesses, then does that give permission to do it? If it's okay if they're white? I don't know, Cindy, but That's how it sounds to me. And maybe I'm taking that the wrong way, and I hope that I am. But how it is not important really as much how I took it is how did the rioters take it? Does that give them permission to do it? So we should just be saying, don't make sure you don't damage anybody's property. Go out and do your thing. That's what I'm saying. That would be the message, not just POC. Okay, so he is running. Okay, I'm going to go look that up, Matt. I'm going to have to talk to that young man. I've not heard one person say it was okay. But I've seen a lot of inaction by city leaders that doesn't say it's okay. But it is, if you silence sometimes says the same thing, gives permission. And I've seen a lot of silence coming from our city leaders. KLCC article reads, a Black activist who's been at the forefront of many protests and marches this year says he's now running for Eugene mayor as a write-in candidate. Oh, I see. That's what Tony was talking about earlier. Okay. Can we please set up an old school KZI garden segment with Fisher? I'll be the camera. Only if we call it social intercourse. Yep, exactly. Just remain quiet. Definitely isn't further their cause or change non-POC mind. If gun violence is a mental health issue, then we need to mentally evaluate every gun owner. I disagree, Aaron. It's not about gun owners. Usually the people who are doing gun violence are people who are getting guns illegally. I totally disagree. Say fuck you. You just want me to say that? Fuck you. He was killed by a mentally ill man, which magnifies our lack of care for our mentally disabled folks. That man was arrested before the sun set on the day his child's death. His disability will most likely be overlooked and will certainly spend more time behind bars for a long time. More time than the murders were Floyd Taylor. Death customer bothered to check the pulse of the ambulance. So sad to see folks using this child's death to take the focus off of Black Lives Matter. But Cindy, then, okay, I'm just going to play the devil's advocate. But then they're trying to point out to you some other kinds of information that seems to get lost. And that's, I think, what people don't listen to. I really like when I've seen something bad happen before a mother and father member of our community comes together and writes laws and works in constraint. I'll tell you what, just honestly, I do find it interesting that the very people who say they are afraid of the police are the very people who yell and scream at them to provoke a response. The little tiny bit of hope that I got out of this conversation right here just now was that we are actually talking, and we can be honest. I can say to Aaron, I disagree with you. And we're not coming back and bludgeoning people with words and our alleged wisdom. This really does, what if you could do this as a community? Is to sit down and ask the hard questions and say, why, as a white guy, why is it okay for this POC conversation about businesses? If we could sit down, and maybe there's another reason there, and we can find out what that is, and maybe they understand, whoever wrote that poster then sees my concern and says, oh gosh, I didn't think that would come across that way. And that's what's lacking here, is some kind of a conversation. And Aaron, you're saying why, and I'm not sure why. If you're talking about if gun violence is a mental health issue, I don't think. So is every gun owner mentally ill? That's a really bad assumption, because I know a lot of gun owners, and they're not out shooting people and killing people. So, and maybe I'm misreading your comment, but is gun violence a mental health? If gun violence is a mental health issue, then we need to mentally evaluate every gun owner. No, we need to be taking better care of the people in our community who are mentally ill. And then, but you don't go checking every gun owner. To me, Aaron, to me, that's crazy. And that just doesn't make any sense at all. Laura, you will lose me in a conversation debate when you scream and insult. You'll lose me. That's why I'm not listening to the rioters anymore. I can't hear. I'm not hearing what their conversation is. All they care about, they hate police and police are pigs, and so I'm not hearing why Black Lives Matter, and what I can do as a white guy to be involved in that conversation and help. Because if I don't agree with violence, then I'm not going to be part of the protest. I'll be part of a protest. Well, actually, for me, I don't want to be in a protest right now because that's a lot of people when we have a virus that we're not letting people get close together. And I just think that's the biggest hypocrisy of this whole thing is if we have a COVID virus and it's really dangerous, the last place I want to be is in a group of a couple hundred people, masked or unmasked. I don't care. When that virus is out there. And I don't care about the research that says it's not happening in protests. I think that research is bullshit. It's happening everywhere if the numbers are correct. We need solutions to our problems. We do. I agree. Cindy, yes, right now, if a white person is pulled out of a truck, business destroyed, little white boy murdered, that is also a problem. The child's murderer was apprehended, case solved. I wish we could get back to the conversation here locally. And I know that got off there. And addiction issues, which also can be hand in hand with mental health or vice versa. Addiction is a huge issue in our community. But, if you want to talk about that, we're still taking people who are addicts and throwing them in jail, and they're not getting the treatment that they need. I have tons of friends who are there. Flashback to high school when my humanities teacher, Ben McKee is a friend of mine. I love this guy. Respectively disagree when we don't agree in debate or conversation. It sets a stage of respect while allowing us to open up a little to understand one another. I try to maintain that today, whether online or in person. I respectfully disagree. And that is exactly the truth, is we have to be able to respectfully disagree and understand, I think, Ben, I love that. Thank you. Also understand that we might be wrong. And if we're a person of color, we might be seeing it through a different eye. And if we're a white person, we're going to be seeing it as a white person. I don't like being discounted because of my color, and neither do you. So I think we should kind of stop that. If we're going to respect people, let's respect them. Years and years ago, I loved this thing where I see no color. So obviously we do see color, but maybe we can act like we didn't. So why do I always have to be a white guy? Why do I always have to be discounted because of my white privilege? And why does somebody that's black always have to be a black person that is this and that and that? If we could just get beyond that and start talking about things, we might get somewhere. And I don't think this is healthy. And I'm not going to sit around because Black Lives Matters and Antifa are trash talking me. As I understand, I'm not on their sites, but I'm not going to be live in fear. I want to be part of a solution, and just because I'm white doesn't mean I can't be. And if that's your opinion, then we're probably never going to have a conversation. But I'm not going to shut up because. I really do give a damn about all of this. And I hate seeing my country. I hate seeing my state. I hate seeing Portland, what's happening to it. And I don't think it has to happen because it's not doing much good right now. It's just causing destruction. Look how quickly folks demonize a mentally ill man because of his race. People demonize, Cindy, if you want to get technical here, people demonize mentally ill people, and it has nothing to do with their race. I am in the disabilities community, and people treat them like shit, whether they're white or black or green or whatever color. This is not a color thing. This is mental illness. People in this country could give a shit about mentally ill people. And that's why we have the problem we have. That's why we have more police doing social work, which they shouldn't be doing. And we don't have cahoots programs anyplace else in the country. It's because that's why our governor tries to defund mental health at the Junction City Mental Hospital, because out of one side of a person's mouth is we care about the mentally ill, but when it comes right down to it, when you really know these people, they don't give a fuck. So don't tell me that's about color. Now, maybe in that case you're talking about there, but generalization and over what the big picture is, it doesn't matter what color you are. If you're mentally ill, society doesn't give a fuck about you. And that is a fact. Oh, thanks, Ben. Sorry, I got a little riled there. I see so much hope, and there's so many things that can happen, and I'm just not going to be hopeless. I'm not going to be somebody who just crawls under a hole. Because come November 3rd, you guys, if we're going to get stuck with whatever we don't get involved in, and that is craziness. The car wash helped with that today. I agree, it's not healthy. It's not healthy. I was thinking his hair is whiter or his face is darker, but he looks fan. Well, I happen to have enough Indian in me, Native American, Cherokee to be specific, that I tan really fast. Really fast. I don't have to worry about burning. You got riled, but the hair didn't. No, the hair stays in place. I'm not even gonna apologize for that, because you know what? I have a brother-in-law who's disabled. He's not mentally ill, but people look at him like he is. I work with tons of people, and I go to places with them, and I see how people treat them like shit. And I hear how people pretend to be nice and then turn around and laugh at them. I've been in a bowling alley when a mother and her 4 teenage sons were laughing at my brother-in-law and his friends who were there in wheelchairs bowling. And I walked over to the mother and said, they know what you're doing. And she says, well, they don't mean anything by it. And I said, you're disgusting, because you're sitting there watching your kids make fun of human beings. And then you see the mentally ill people walking on the streets of Eugene, and you think people really care about them. There are some agencies that do, but why are they there if we do? We should put our money where our mouth is. We don't give a fuck about people with mental illness. As long as you manage them, or just leave them. We're not even managing them. We just leave them on the streets of Eugene. We don't care. Is it humane to allow people to live on the streets of Eugene? No. No. And yet we do it. It's our policy. It's our policy. And then I get beat up by the homeless advocates, so-called advocates, because I cry out and say that we need to stop the lawlessness of this community. And so they say I'm anti-homeless. I'm not anti-homeless. I'm anti our policy of allowing human beings to suffer. That's what I'm anti. You've never been with someone to crawl under a hole. Keep it up. Appreciate your honesty tonight. You're welcome, Ben. Thank you for saying something too, Ben, as one of my African-American friends. We had some fun with that, didn't we, Betty? I love you, Rick. Thanks for lunch and hanging out. You're welcome, Nick. While we're at it, and you want to bring other people into it, you want them to get really uncomfortable. Yeah, let's bring other people into it. What about how we treat felons in our community, people who've been to prison? How we treat them? Yeah. What do we do when they serve their sentence and then they get out, and we still continue to allow that sentence to follow them for the rest of their lives? That's humane. Yeah. Because, see, people can't change. Well, they do change, but we don't allow them to change. So once a felon, always a felon. Well, that's bullshit. And I have friends, lots of friends who are felons, who've been serving time in prison. And you know what? They're some of the most amazing, wonderful people, but they don't get a break. We don't give them a break. Then if you want to add sex offender on top of that, put sex offender on top of your felony conviction. Do you know why people you got me on a roll now. You want to know why you should have brought your protection, because this is social intercourse and you're not going to like it. But you know why some people get, they're listed as a sex offender? Because one guy I know is listed as a sex offender for peeing in the park. Now, I pee along the Doris Ranch every morning when I run because I had prostate cancer and I have to pee, and I'm not going to wet my pants, so I'm going to pee. But if someone saw me, would I be arrested for being a sex offender? No, because I don't have a felony. But if you have a felony, then all those little things add up. I know another friend, and he took a dump on a police car. He got listed as a sex offender for taking a shit on a police car. Now, should he have done that? Probably not. But is that sex? Is that a sex offense? I mean, but see, to you or anybody else, he's now listed as a sex offender. But we don't give a shit. Yeah, we care so much. Yeah, you get to the dirty stuff. You want to show real ugly humanity. It's how we treat the mentally ill and our prisoners who are getting out. And labeling somebody a sex offender for peeing in a park. But we don't give a shit. Who cares? I want to see Trump's rendition of Lady Macbeth's damn spot speech. That would be fun. My favorite contacts when I worked downtown had mental health issues. They were wonderful. And I'll say this. Here's the thing that I would say to a bunch of people out there. If you have ever seen how the police in Eugene and Springfield deal with some of the folks with mental health issues in our community, there's some officers that patrol the streets that are in that unit, and they are so kind to those people, kinder than the general population. And so I got people out there screaming, police are pigs and fuck them and all that kind of stuff, when you've never seen the way that our local officers treat the mentally ill in this community. They're not just going down and arresting them. They're having relationships. They're understanding them. They know where they're going. Bo, who's one of the guys who work downtown, he walks around and he knows what they're doing and he checks on them. He goes to see what they're doing. The compassionate, heart-filled people. And then so we got rioters out here screaming, fuck the police, when they're taking care of some of the people you don't want to take care of. So maybe you ought to check your facts. You better check your facts, because maybe in some parts of the country that's happened and that's been big headlines in the media, and that's tragic and it's horrible what happens. But I'm talking about what happens right here. And yes, people get profiled, and yes, people get pulled over when they shouldn't. I have a lot of friends who told me those stories, and that makes me sad, and I'm sorry. That needs to change. But that's not the whole picture. And if we could start talking again, perhaps we could get to a point where we could fix some of this stuff. But before you go screaming at me about these different people that are not getting their voices heard, let's go to the depths of the mentally ill who aren't people. Here we go. And just how about fat people? Let's talk about people with obesity. It still seems to be okay in our culture to make fun of them. My mom was big, 300 and some pounds, and I'd hear people say stuff about her. And I'd go up and say something to them. So do we still judge people? Oh, if only they'd stop eating so much. Do we know their history? Do we know what went on their family? Do people know that my mom's dad died in a hunting accident when she was 11 and she never got over that? So food was something that made her feel better about herself. But you're going to judge her for being fat. So as a culture, we still do that, don't we? And I have a friend, Amelia Abel, who lives with Down syndrome. And people still ignore her and think she's stupid because of the way she looks. She's not stupid. She can do anything you and I can do, but it just takes her a little longer to learn it. But she sees people on the bus talking badly about her. She sees people making fun of her. She asks people to go to the movies with her, and they won't do it because they don't want to be seen with her. She knows that. Let's talk about compassion for people. Let's talk about how we treat other people. Heavy people, people with disabilities, people with different abilities. Yeah, if we want to get into that, let's do that. Let's do that. Because those are different lives that also matter. No, it's not. And there are hundreds of people labeled like that. And unfortunately, once you label, it's almost impossible to remove it. This is, okay, you opened the door. People have no clue how much training that have come with this escalation of mental health issues. How many times EPD specifically have spent their own time and money getting people off the streets. I have so many success stories. It is true. And Tony knows. There are police that go out and buy and give them money, give them things. There's a program in EPD where it's not funded through your tax dollars. It's private donations, and they can give people money to give them a room at night, and they do. So fuck police? No. You don't get to see. And so you're going all half-baked on something when you don't even know all the other shit that goes on in there. That's what irritates me. Go down and talk to them. What if you, instead of writing "fuck you, police" all over the buildings, why don't you go sit down with a cop or two and find out about some of these programs that the information's out there? Yeah, you want to talk about how we treat people? Let's talk about how we treat people, each other. Yes, I've seen it too. EPD knows what is happening with the mentally challenged here and deals with them. But what we need is more funding. Mean people suck. Those with the invisible illness or disability have it difficult as well. You don't look sick. It's heard so often. I know. And you know what, Linda? God, that is so fucking pissed me off. They're not sick. It's just, that's how they are. They were born or somehow created that way. So what if the reason they're like that is so the rest of us will get off our fucking high horse and see what humanity really looks like? Maybe they're a gift. Maybe the unlovely and the people that don't fit in are there to show us that we're not so smart. So before we get all high horse and start blaming other people, maybe we need to look at ourselves. We had a campaign a few years ago, Look Me in the Eye. It gave dignity to people with different abilities. There's no such thing as a person with a disability. We all have them. There are people with different abilities. We need police. We just need them to stop abusing the power and qualified immunity. Cindy, I don't think you're really listening, but give it to the rest of us. You show me cases in Eugene where that's happening, Cindy, and I'd love to see them. Just think reorganizing and reallocating funds to have a strong mental wellness program for homeless and the sick would really help the police. And if they aren't the dump spot for all that, Amy, amen. I would change only one thing. I don't know. This is just me, and I'm stupid, but I don't think mental illness is a sickness. It's just a different way of living. You know, they just learn to manage differently, and I don't think it doesn't seem to me like, I can't call it a sickness. I'm fat, but I've been that way all my life. I work more than most folks. I don't overeat. It's just me. Well, Heather, good for you. I'm happy. Be fat. and I can't see you, so I don't know. That's not a judgment, okay? I think she's talking about illness from fibro, cancer, arthritis, etc. Oh, okay. I'd vote for it. I would never run for anything. No, he's not. There's never. We are all alter-abled. We're all dysfunctional. Look at our world right now. You don't think this is a reflection of us? Oh God. Okay, we're not going to get into the immunity thing. That's when people. This is my own opinion. For me, when people start throwing their facts at each other, it's kind of like church. I can make a scripture say anything I want for it to do. Cindy, you can give me all the facts you want, and somebody else can give me facts, and then we discount it, and then everything falls apart. We got to get past this shit. We're not going to win this with fact wars. The way you win this is with compassion wars. Compassion and listening, not trying to win. No one has to win. We as a community have to win. It is an aside. So when you throw facts at each other, this immunity thing, this thing, and this thing, and this, all it is tit for tat. And it doesn't mean they're bad facts, but we've got to get deeper than that. This is a wound that's deeper than what happened to George Floyd. And this is a wound that's deeper than this specific case or this case, because then I can tit for tat you and now, okay, both those are gone. So where does that leave us? I'm right, you're wrong. No, I'm right, you're wrong. No, I'm right, you're wrong. And what happened to, where do we start? Because we're all guilty of it. Yeah, every colored person, every person of any color is. Blanket tear. And what were they doing to get the tear gas? I mean, Cindy, you're not even paying attention. 2 kids with Asperger's, not a mental illness. They are just wired differently. Yep, I understand the Asperger's and all that whole thing too. You're welcome. That's the group. People won't listen. I've tried getting it, but no, people don't want to listen. They until we stop doing that, because honestly, Cindy Vale, because there's a couple of you on here, that we can go back and forth. It's got this. What they threw tear gas. What did they do? They were destroying a building. So they're controlling it. If you can you look at it from the other side about anybody else? Do we even have the ability to empathize with people anymore? Do we understand empathy? Being able to see how this impacts other people. How does that impact Stephen Sheehan at Elkhorn when you tear apart his business and destroy it? His employees and all those other people you're hurting, does that even matter? No, it doesn't matter, because you can't empathize. People, and I'm not saying you, Cindy, I'm saying people can't empathize with how that happens. What if they came and did that to your house or your place of business? What would that feel like? What if they trashed your name? If we started thinking about other people like that, maybe we'd have a little more ability to reach some kind of a stand on this thing. Yes, the sick was not meant to be. Thank you. Thank you, Amy, for clearing that up. I kind of figured you didn't, but I also don't like to leave things hanging like that, because God, words are so important. I mean, seriously, words are so important. And then asking questions about words when people say things rather than assuming that's what they meant. And, that's why half the shit's on the internet. Because people aren't asking questions. We can't have a conversation. How do you know? You don't know where I came from. I mean, half the assholes that are beating me up, they have no idea how I grew up or anything about me. They just see some guy with great hair and a nice beard who thinks he's arrogant and on here and doing his thing, and all they can do is hate. And when I speak out against not them, but their violence, then that makes them mad. They think I'm against them. I'm not against them. I'm against the violence. And if you're going to go tearing up my friends' businesses, and anybody in this town who has a business is my friend, even if I don't like them, if you're going to tear up my town, no, I'm not going to sit by and shut up. I'm not going to be silent. I'm not going to be quiet about it. And you're not going to bully me into submission and doing something that you want. Because I was bullied my whole entire childhood, okay? And it's not a sad story. It's just the way it was. And I will not ever be bullied again. So not going to happen. Fucking not going to happen. Tear gas is a chemical warfare, by the way. It's been outlawed in many countries. I guess, Jason, and yeah, I get your point. I guess for me, is if you're destroying businesses and buildings and you're not listening to the people telling you can't do this anymore, to me, you're inviting a problem. That's kind of how it works. Yeah, here we go. JC Lloyd, this is good. My facts supersede your facts because my facts confirm my position. I'm right, and if you don't agree, we can't even interact. This will be our demise. My way or the highway is no way to live. That's a perfect place to end. Right there, JC Lloyd just said it. That's the problem in America. That's the problem in Oregon. That's the problem in Portland and Eugene. That is the problem right there. That's a problem with COVID, and the reaction to COVID is right there. My facts are right, your facts are wrong. We can't talk about it because it's my way or no way. And then we bully people into submission. It doesn't work. It's a fuck process, and it's not going to happen. And the more you push and cram things down people's throat, they vomit. And we're vomiting right now. whether it's COVID reaction, whether it's the riots, all of it, we need to figure out what's going to be equitable for everyone. And when you force feed people stuff that for them tastes like shit, they throw it up. So right now, we are all throwing up. And is it time to stop? Are we ready to stop, or do we just want to keep getting sicker and sicker? I'm ready to stop. Have a good weekend.